time for the questioning, I just want to ensure that we're instituting a protocol to ask permission to take the floor and be acknowledged before speaking. We will also be taking breaks every decision, but if no request for contested case is made, the board will make a decision. The department will treat the decision as final and proceed accordingly. The board may also go into executive session pursuant to HRS 92-5A4 in order to consult with its attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. I will now take a roll call of all of the board members that are present today. We will start with board member
Karen Ono, Hawaii member.
Aloha, Amy Barnes, Oahu. Aloha, Amy Barnes, Oahu member.
Vernon Char, Oahu.
And I do want to acknowledge that why board member Char has all the liaison. He has completed his second term, so but we wish him well. So this hopefully is not his last meeting as we hope he will be able to continue to serve as a holdover until his position is filled by the governor. Don Chang, chair of the board.
Riley Smith, Hawaii Island board member.
Aloha Maika Ko Doreen Canto, Maui Island member.
And board member Wesley Kaivi is not present today. And our board secretary is Rihanna Wright, and our deputy attorney general today is John Dubiel. This is our board. So thank you very much for all of you for being here. We have a very tight agenda. As you notice, we only have 2 items on the agenda. So the first item on the agenda is C1. It's an annual review of grants from the Land Conservation Fund for each project. Good morning, David.
Good morning, David Smith, Administrator, Division of Forest and Wildlife. Real quick, I know you guys are busy today, but this is kind of a pro forma. We have a policy to come to the board annually to report on any grants that are pending, over 5 years old. And so this year we have one, which is the Kaneohe Poly acquisition. It's about 950 acres. We're working diligently on it. We're hoping to close in September. You have all the information in your submittal. We have partners, including the U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. Navy, that have provided funding for this. Great project. We think we're in the cusp of closing, and we're just looking for the board to defer any action on it so that we can proceed with the acquisition.
Thank you very much, David. Any questions, board members?
Who's the owner that owns the property that they're negotiating purchase from?
Coral Land Partners.
Do we know who individuals are in that organization?
We're dealing with an attorney in this case.
Any other question, board members?
Yes.
Yes, please, Karen.
During this 5-year period, how much community engagement have you had?
We've been working actively with the community. In fact, there's some other parcels that were involved with the acquisition. Those seem to have dropped out, but we're working with folks out there. There's a lot of, it's very important area, archaeologically, culturally. We're working with folks that are out there doing, like Mark Stride, who's out there doing a lot of Taro Lohi restoration. We've been hiking up with him and seeing all the historic and cultural areas, some really important cultural areas. So we're really dialed in on all that, and that's going to play a big part in how the area is managed.
I have one more
Yes,
question.
please.
You mentioned the U.S. Navy as one of the partners here too. What is their role in this whole process?
They're providing funding.
Funding?
Yeah.
That's through the REPI program? So this particular parcel is part of a much larger acquisition. Is that correct, David?
No, it's just the back of Kaneohe and because of the proximity with the Marine Corps Base Hawaii and whatnot, it fits into their REPI program for buffer zone acquisition. It's a really steep area. It's not that important to many people. It's a conservation zone, and so folks to hold it or try to do something with it, it's really impractical, and so it makes more sense for us to hold it for, biological, cultural, reasons, but it doesn't really make sense for most folks. And then to preserve it, as far as the military is concerned, they try to buy up buffer zone areas so that they don't have, they have a better relationship with the community. It also helps their, enlisted folks have places to go and recreate and whatnot.
Because I thought this is also part of the larger Mobility acquisition. I mean, this provides us a very contiguous.
It is
yeah.
contiguous with some of our forest reserves, and
Right.
we're looking to provide larger, more contiguous areas. This particular one is a standalone,
Mhm.
but it is connected to a strategy that we have to link up other protected areas.
Any other questions, board members? Very good, thank you. Do I have a motion? And this is the first.
Public comment?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, yes, please.
Oh, no, I was just asking if you had any public comment before
Oh,
closing.
that's very good. I'm so anxious for the next agenda item. I just want to move on to the next agenda. I apologize. You're right. Do I have any comments, public comments in the boardroom? Yes, please, come on up.
Hi, my name is Yalani Sonora Pale. I'm with the Oahu Water Protectors, and I want to just say that the Navy has been responsible for a lot of the contamination. They're responsible for the poison aquifer that we have. The U.S. military is responsible for a Superfund site. These REPI monies that he's referring to is not a gift. It's a responsibility that the Navy has to the people of Hawaii to clean up what they contaminated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else here would like to provide a comment? Is there anyone on Zoom? Rihanna? Oh, I'm sorry. Please. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm missing. Come on up. I'm not paying attention this morning. Thank you.
Mai kako, Rocky Kaluhiwa, Moku, Kawailoa-Poamoho. And being that I'm from that area and I have no knowledge of this, I would like to know more about it, because usually things like this does come before our Kawailoa-Poamoho Hawaiian Civic Club, or it comes before it's something Ahupua. So we'd like to be more educated, because this is the first I've heard of it. And like she said, how is the Navy involved? Because if it's away from the waters, I would like to know that too.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised you guys aren't directly involved, but we will, we can reach out to you and bring you up there. Yeah, or do you live in Mark?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the comment. Is there anybody else in the boardroom that'd like to make a comment on item C1? Is there anyone on Zoom? Yeah? I'm going to close public comments on item C1.
Chair will make a motion to approve and encourage David and the team to reach out to Maturaki and the Kawailoa-Poamoho Civic Club, which I will disclose I am a member of. To make sure that they get to get up there and see the site.
Second.
Okay. A motion has been moved and seconded. I'm going to, since this is the first vote of the board, Rihanna, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Member Ono?
Aye.
Member Barnes?
Aye.
Member Char?
Aye.
Chair Chang?
Aye.
Member Smith?
Aye.
Member Cottrell?
Aye.
Motion passes with 6 votes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, David and David. Okay. I'm now going to move on to item D1. And before we proceed, I do want to, in full disclosure, we are anticipating many people have signed up. I appreciate the participation of the public in this matter. So this is the proposed timeline. I am potentially will lose some board members at 5 o'clock. So I'd like to close public comments by 3 o'clock. So I'm going to ask everyone if you could participate, cooperate in the limited time for your testimony. If we can close public comments by 2 o'clock, it gives the board an opportunity to deliberate for at least 2 hours. Make a motion and deliberate. This is a very important item before the board. I think quite frankly, as like the PTA, it's quite historic for this board to take action. So that's the proposed timeline that we are going to, I'm hoping hoping to strive for. So if I ask you to move along, it is to ensure that we have adequate time for the board to deliberate. The order of public testifiers, I would first like to take Kupuna, both here and those that may be outside. We also have an elected official, senator here, so I'd like to also take elected officials after that. And then I'm going to move on to the members who have signed up to testify. Because we have many people outside in the breezeway as well who would like to testify, I would like to ask you if after your testimony, if you don't mind, if you could go outside so that we can provide space for those outside in the breezeway to come in. So again, your cooperation is greatly appreciated. So I am first going to I'm going to have a presentation by staff. Then I will have a presentation by the applicant. And then I'm going to, at that point in time, board members, if you're okay with holding our comments until after our presentations are made.
You're bothering me. I'm down against you.
So what I will do
Coming
is,
up, coming right up. At
excuse
church.
me?
At your church, which I'll write up for anti-Semitism.
Okay. So again, the order is going to be staff will do a presentation, then we'll take the applicant, and then I'm going to open it up for public comments. With that being said, Lauren and Ian, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board, Ian Hirokawa with Land Division. Lauren Yasaka will do the
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Lauren Yasaka, staff planner at Land Division. So before you today is the Army's final EIS for the Army training land retention of state lands at the Kahuku training area, Kawailoa-Poamoho training area, and Mākua military reservation. The board has until June 29th to either accept or not accept the final EIS. Should the board not make a decision within the time allotted, the final EIS is automatically deemed accepted. Once the board makes a decision, there is a 60-day challenge period after the public has been informed of such decision, in which a judicial proceeding can be initiated regarding the decision of acceptance or non-acceptance by either affected agencies and persons or by the applicant regarding the non-acceptance of a statement. There is no contested case process involved with this type of decision making.
You have no authority.
Excuse me?
You have no authority. You guys are United States and you are illegal. This is a war crime, all right? All right?
So if I would ask
She's going to be served at her church. I'm not going to do anything. She's not going to we're going to testify and that's it. I don't have to talk to her.
So excuse me, right now I am taking.
I'm going to serve her at TRL at a church in front of the whole congregation. Then I'm going to write them up for anti-Semitism.
So excuse me, either I'm going to ask you to participate by our protocols. If not, I am going to ask you to go outside. Because everyone here is participating and wanting to hear from the comments.
Are you not going to let the military?
So excuse me again.
Or the
if
water
you want
or
to make a
whatever
comment,
the issue is?
So I'm going to ask you to leave, all right?
If you
And you
say,
may come up and testify at your
if you are
appropriate
going
time.
to give this land back to the Hawaiians, I will leave right now.
So thank you, but that matter is not before us, so if you don't
Oh,
mind.
it is a war crime, and you're all being charged today. You're going to hear eyewitnesses,
There's a bunch of people.
all right? And make sure, Ms. Chang,
Yeah, so if you don't
Don
mind,
Chang,
so if you don't mind, if you could go outside.
Dombrowski, and Josh Redula, and Jay Pang of the United States, they get charged as well.
Thank you. Again, thank you, everybody. Welcome back on session. I recognize this is a very emotional issue. But everybody's here who wants to provide a comment. I'd like to provide an opportunity for everyone to be heard and to be listened to. So with that being said, if you can continue, Lauren.
Okay, I just want to be clear that today's decision making is not about approving any new leases or whether military training is environmentally sound. This is not about Red Hill or the future of the Kahuku racetrack. This is strictly about a 4-volume document and whether it has fully declared the environmental implications of the proposed action and all reasonable foreseeable consequences of the action. For a final EIS to be deemed acceptable, the board must find that the document meets the procedural requirements, the content requirements, and whether or not they feel that the applicant has responded to the comment satisfactorily. So again, remember, procedure, content requirements, and responses to comments. Further, I would like to add that any additional information provided or mitigative actions proposed by the applicant in response to questions posed by the board must be able to be identified in the final EIS document. Information not found in the document cannot be considered as having been disclosed within the EIS. I would also ask the testifiers here today, given your short time limit, to frame your testimony around the 3 criteria for acceptance of a final EIS, as this would be most helpful to the board for decision-making purposes. Onto the final EIS itself, staff is requesting that the board not accept the final EIS. This is due to a consensus among the divisions that the final EIS is insufficient, as there is a clear lack of baseline data for the department, and therefore the board to determine and understand the extent of any impacts to natural, historical, and cultural resources. Further, staff believes that comments from the department on the draft EIS were not responded to satisfactorily. Our reasons are outlined in the staff submittal, and I'm close.
I just wanted to close by, bringing attention, we were reviewing the comments submitted, and one of the comments I think bears worth us addressing was made by the Army in their testimony was that in regards to concerns about the compensation, and that somehow that, we've asserted that the kapuna they consulted are not relevant to the process, or that's our position. And I wanted to just say that that is a gross mischaracterization of our position. That is not our position at all. We simply stress the importance of consulting with the Ahupua Advisory Committee, which I remind everybody is a part, an agency within BLNR, and its importance and its role is codified in statute. So, and we'll be available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Lauren. I'm now going to take the comments. And before the Army comes up, I do want to make a statement on the record. It was recently brought to my attention that at the last meeting when we had the PTA EIS, and everybody here was extremely cordial and respectful, but as the Army representatives went to their car in the garage, they were, they were harassed as they were exiting. So Docare escorted them out. It is not our intention to be, I just want to remind everybody, as emotional as this is, we have to treat each other with respect. And again, everybody here I've seen how you conducted yourself. Some people are just very emotional, but I'm not going to tolerate that. So Docare is still here. I would ask that all of you continue to be respectful to each other, both to those who have same feelings as you do as well as others. But I wanted to make that statement on the record that during this process, we're going to conduct ourselves with respect for each other, and we provide each other an opportunity to be heard and to be felt safe for everyone. Right? So with that being said, I'll let you come on up.
Aloha and good morning, Chair Chang, members of the board. I'm Colonel Rachel Sullivan, Commander of U.S. Army Garrison, Hawaii. I'm responsible for all of the U.S. Army installations across the state. Joining me today is Alice Roberts, Program Manager for our Army Training Land Retention Project. Thank you very much for the opportunity to sit before you today to introduce and provide testimony supporting acceptance of the Oahu Final Environmental Impact Statement. I would like to briefly highlight the Army's preferred alternative regarding the proposed retention of state-owned lands on Oahu. Throughout this process, we have listened to the community, studied the environmental impacts carefully, and adjusted our approach accordingly. The preferred alternative seeks to return approximately 5,870 acres of state lands at Kahuku, Poamoho, and Mākua military reservation, and only retain approximately 450 acres of state land at Kahuku, identified as Tract A1 in the EIS. We understand the importance of the Kahuku motocross track as we have previously stated during the board meeting in April 2024 and during our public meetings. If we retain tract Alpha 1, we will ensure that the motocross track remains available for use, and we look forward to continuing to work with the motocross community on this endeavor to streamline and improve access. We recognize that any military use of the land in Hawaii must be balanced with stewardship and respect for cultural values. This remains our enduring commitment. Mahalo for your time and consideration. I respectfully ask for your support by accepting the Oahu Final EIS that seeks to return almost 6,000 acres of land to the people of Hawaii while ensuring the continued defense of our island home and our nation. I will now turn it over to Alice, who will briefly discuss the EIS and answer any questions related to the HEPA compliance final EIS submission. Thank you.
Good morning. The Army prepared an environmental impact statement to analyze the potential impacts associated with retaining land on Oahu to support continued training at Kahuku, Kawailoa-Poamoho, and Mākua military reservation. The proposed action is a real estate transaction that allows for the continuation of military use. The Army is not proposing new constructions or changes in the type or scope of military training. All training currently conducted has been subject to prior NEPA analyses and resulted in mitigation measures, many of which are ongoing. The Army conducted a formal scoping process for the proposed action in 2021. No divisions within the DLNR submitted scoping comments at that time. In June 2024, the Army published a draft EIS for the Oahu land retention effort, which was followed by 3 public meetings in Iune, Kahuku, and Mākua. Following the publication of the draft EIS for Oahu and receipt of public and agency comments, the Army re-examined training land requirements and utilization for the lease lands and shifted the preferred alternative to only see 450 acres at KTA. The final EIS only makes a recommendation for how much land is retained, but does not identify a retention method, i.e. fee or lease. Therefore, the retention method is not an evaluation criteria for HEPA acceptance determination. With regard to the land division staff comments regarding baseline data insufficiency, acceptance of the EIS requires good faith effort and sufficient, not exhaustive information per APR 11-200.1-28. The EIS sufficiently enables informed decision-making, which is the legal standard under Price v. Obeya. Existing conditions supported with included data appropriately establish the baseline for the EIS analysis. Baseline considers all prior current activities, environmental monitoring, and conservation efforts. Each resource section discusses the combined impacts of past, present, and reasonably foreseeable actions. Regarding insufficient data for natural resources, BLNR considered the biological resources section to be out of date and piecemeal. The Army disagrees. The EISs are compiled and analyses are completed based on all relevant research and studies to date. This includes both historical and current data and surveys, as well as current natural resources management actions. Additionally, these data are compiled into an integrated natural resources management plan for which DLNR is a signatory. In other words, the natural resources plan, which the Army uses to implement conservation mitigation efforts, is reviewed, analyzed, and approved by the state. Biological opinions result from ESA Section 7 consultation regarding potential taking of threatened and endangered species. Generally are initiated when there is a new military construction or new training activities. The BOs that are currently in place from 1999, 2003, 2004, and 2008 are enforce and guide management of and mitigation for natural resources. All species benefit from ecosystem management and are included in the Army NRIP, and the EIS included all current species. Implementation of the BOs requires annual status reports that are provided to DLNR DOFA and are also available for public review. With regard to cultural resources, a description of all previous surveys and sites identified for all state-owned lands was provided along with an analysis of the site characteristics. With the exception of the Poamoho parcel and steeply sloping portions of KTA Tract A3, all of the state-owned land has been surveyed at industry standard. Regarding the lack of appropriate interviews for this.
I'm so sorry. 5 minutes is up. We have received your testimony, your comments, but we'd ask that you be available to address questions once the board has an opportunity. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you adhering by that. With that being said, I'm going to now move on to public comments. And again, I'd first like to start off with kupuna, and I'm gonna let you identify whether you kupuna or not. I'm
There's something with a cake in there that
Bring
them up. Maybe you want to include in that first.
Sure. Yeah.
Want the mic?
Okay, yes, no, not at all. And then Board Member Barnes also suggested, and I totally concur, that I'm not going to take, where you have a kupuna, a child with you, it might be helpful. I'll take your testimony early too. So please go ahead if you can introduce yourself.
My name is Robert Navahine Mansfield, Jr. I reside in Mo'iliili. I appreciate this opportunity, not only for
Can
me,
you please
but
fix the mic for him? Is that?
Is it on?
I don't know.
It's not going to amplify in the room, but it's for the Zoom.
Oh, it's for the Zoom.
Okay.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
Forget where I was. I appreciate the opportunity, not only for myself, but all these people who are here, that you provide for us to speak. I say aloha. Aloha to you. I say aloha to our kupuna who are here with us today. I say aloha to our kupuna uahala, those who have gone on before us. I say aloha to them as well. This speech that I went right down is no good because this is my first testimony and this is rubbish. I just want to say to you that as a member of the Methodist Church and as an Oiwi, this earth is sacred. Our relationship with this earth is sacred. That's all I have to say. I asked the Army, put in an EIS, tell us you have SOP for clean up after you plow. Put that over there. Let us see what you're doing about that. The motocross and giving back the land, that's only a carrot for us. Speak to us. Us, OU. Okay? Mahalo.
Mahalo. You were very articulate for your first testimony. Mahalo for that. Mahalo for that. Is there another kupuna in the room who would like to acknowledge that you're kupuna? Please, come on.
We're all kupuna. Kupuna didn't do so much, right?
And actually, that if you can use that mic too, but that's probably the mic for the room. That mic is to go out on the TV. But
So-
here, no, please sit down.
So you recommend this
Yeah,
one?
you might want to move it closer to you. There you go.
My name is Linnell Damate. I was born and raised in Kahuku. I am a product of the plantation era, and all my life I have been able to observe the comings and goings of the military. So, I know we cannot ask the questions directly to the testimonies brought up, but I will pose a question to the board that it was just recently brought to my attention, and then you guys can go question later, that there was communication between the Kahuku Motocross Association and the military, and that there was a deal struck, hands shook, for the sum of $400,000 for the maintenance of the road. Now, whether or not that is true, that'll be up to you guys to determine the facts. So, that wasn't really part of what I wanted to say today, but this just came up yesterday. So just to let you know that I'm kind of nosy. In fact, I'm very nosy about what goes on in my neighborhood. And a recent experience for me was that the military, the Army, they access KTA. Well, that was my 5 minutes already?
No, 2 minutes.
Oh, shucks. Anyway, sometimes there's a miscommunication between the troops and the command and going up to that hill, that gate is locked. So they all have to just line up on the side of the road. It causes a traffic nightmare. And just recently, there was an explosive truck parked in front of my house. Now, to me, the arrogance of the military to think that we all know that it's a mock explosive truck, you know, that we don't know. So can I have another 2 minutes
No,
later?
I'm sorry.
There's so much more I need to say, being born and raised there. Okay, so, anyway.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead and look into that.
Oh, we will indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Anybody else who's school board not here? I'm gonna.
Oh, and I'm a great grandma.
Okay. There was did you want to come up? Did you want to go? Yes, come on up. And then I am going to ask that after your testimony, if you can go outside so we can let others in. Please go. Oh, sure. Okay, I do have, is it Lindell?
Yes.
So I have a board member who would like to ask you a question. I'm sorry.
Thank you. You wanna come forward? Thank you for your testimony. I just have one quick question. Do you support or not support what's in front of us today?
I do not support.
You do not?
I would like the board to reject.
Thank you so much.
So I'm supposed to speak into this?
Well, you can just leave it on the table. It's fine.
Aloha, my name is Ellen Kekipi Awai. My family was Konahiki for the islands. And my father, Isaac John Mokukapu Olono Kekipi, his family owned probably Pearl Harbor, Halawa and everything, and over into Kalanimoku. This is an injustice that we've been lied to for decades. Our parents knew a lot of things, but because we were educated, we went to college, you know, we share with them and they laugh at us because they knew better, because Kamehameha had protected us long ago. And I'm sure you guys know all the stories about Prince Kuhio and everything, so I don't have to go through that. But I recently testified for almost 100 bills, and Senator Favela has been here, so he knows all the issues I have faced. I have been thrown into hospitals and prisons because of what my family, the Kekipi family, did. And that's not right. They are part of the Patriot League supporting the Queen. And for my great-grandfather, grandfather, and my father, as well as my brothers, have to go through all kinds of issues. And me, I no longer have housing. I was kicked out by government people who don't even understand English. They won't practice, you know, colonization, they bring in another group, and that's not what the Hawaiians did. They brought in the Chinese and the Japanese because they had the knowledge and they could do the work. And that's what the kingdom did for us. But this is getting ridiculous where they can take over our jobs in Waikiki, over more than 50% of their population now. That's not right. And how they treat our tourists. And tourism was never our #1 industry. It was always military spending from the time I went through UH in the 1970s. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Anybody else who's school board member? Please.
Before we start, I'm the Reverend Steve Costa. I'm the Archdeacon of the Episcopal Diocese of Hawaii. We made a resolution against this, so but I'm not here to give you facts and figures. Once upon a time, Wakea and Papahanao gave birth to a daughter, Tukulani. The time she gave birth to her firstborn son, the stillborn son was named Harloa, long eternal breath. With great sadness, she walked Haloa in sacred kapa and placed him in a basket of hala and buried him on the eastern end, Kahikina, the end of Kamala'ai, the garden. where the sun rose. After shedding many tears, the plant started to grow. This plant had a long stalk and heart-shaped leaf. It was given the name Halona na Kalau Kapalili, for the way the leaves fluttered in the wind. The first kalau plant was born. Soon Ho'opukalani became hapai again, and this time a strong, healthy baby boy was born. They given the name Haloa in honor of his older brother, Kekalo. Haloa was the first Hawaiian person, Kanakao Iwi, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. This story honors the relationship we Kanaka have with Kaina. It is our ancestor. It is everything. It is a story about loss and birth. The firstborn dies and becomes the watering from tears, the sustenance for the next son and the many, many, many more sons and daughters. Ue, o Kalani, o la kahunua. The heavens weep and the earth lives. Aole, military, aole.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Yes, please.
Reverend, thank you for your testimony. Could you repeat your affiliation and the number of?
I'm the Archdeacon at St. Andrew's Cathedral. I am the Archdeacon, the Social Justice Officer for the Church, the Episcopal Church of Hawaii.
Thank you. And your congregation, could you just tell us how many congregants you represent here?
We have about 3,000 or so. It is important. I have the privilege of being the first native of 270 million Anglicans in the world. I have the privilege of being the first native Hawaiian Archdeacon in the Anglican Communion. I have the privilege of being the first native Hawaiian Archdeacon in the state of Hawaii. It is our kuleana to say aole.
Thank you very much. Any other complaints? Senator Favela, would you like to come?
Rocky.
Rocky, you
No, she's not ready.
I'll go last. I'll go last.
No, that's okay, we're gonna call you.
Oh, so I get children, yeah? You ready?
Oh,
Go ahead.
you sure? Yeah, please come on in. Thank you, Senator. Would someone please get the door button for us? Thank you. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Noel Shaw, and I just want to start by saying thank you for making space for Mākua to go first. Oftentimes we're forgotten in these analyses and in this work, and we have to trust that this board, the DLNR, and the people in this room will represent our voices. With that, I'm a member of Hui Aloha o Honolulu, a mother of 3 keiki kaiapuni, an Oahu Hawaiian homesteader in Kalabahine, a successor, a current resident, and a community leader. I'm a farm-to-school advocate, free school meal advocate, and a Firewise community organizer by force. Fireworks, of course, is something that we talk about a lot in our homestead communities, but we talk about it everywhere here in Oahu. And every day, what the Army does is play with fireworks. So these are a direct threat to our continued existence in this space. I stand by the written testimony that I submitted as my own and by Hui Aloha o Honolulu's written testimony. I thank the DLNR for the adequate job they've done to call to question every part of the FEIS. And I ask this committee to think about intersectionality. I listed all the things that intersect me. And in these EIS, we are asking for intersectionality to be considered. Maybe there is a 3-part test, that's the kapakai analysis, or anything that the DLNR looks to make a determination. But we are beyond understanding that only those 3 things can be used to make a determination. We are so much more. And we need to listen to that. And though I understand that the purpose of the EIS is to talk about the environmental impacts, I need you to all understand here that we are interconnected to this land, especially as we name our children, as we bury our things there. When we don't take those things into consideration, we cause irreparable damage. The psychological impact that it has on me as a mother to think about what's going to happen next by the neighbors that we hold is massive. So I ask you to please reject this. Please take care of Mākua. Please take care of Kiki. Please take care of Hawaii. And please trust that Hawaii can be free. Pau pele, pau mano. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Any of them up there, please come on up. You were here last time.
I was
too.
here last
Thank
time
you
with
for
my
being
kiki.
here.
Aloha my kako. My name is Julie Au, and my kiki and I were here last time to represent Aina Momona, to urge you folks to reject the FEIS for Pohakuloa. We're here again to urge you to reject this FEIS for Oahu. I think the issue is really the same. The United States military has had decades to prepare for the renewal of this lease. Instead of taking that time to consider community concerns, explore meaningful alternatives, to address BLNR comments, to propose remediation and cleanup efforts, they have relied on outdated data and put together another faulty FEIS that I do not think you should feel pressured today to accept. The United States military is banking on the fact that they can get up here with cries of national security and we will all shut up and roll over. And as Mākua and Kanaka, we are not going to do that. We have to think about the future. We have to think about the Aina that these keiki will live on, the resources that they're going to need. The fact that the military is returning land to the state is not enough to address the environmental concerns of bombing and doing live action training on these sites. I'm very proud to work for Uncle Walter Riddy, who has faced the United States military and won. And he has inspired generations like myself, like these keiki, to continue to stand up for what's right. Kanaka are who speak for our Aina. The United States military does not speak for the Aina. I think it's wild they have the audacity to call themselves stewards and to talk about stewardship when what they do is probably the worst thing that you can do to the land, no matter how many acres it is. And I think we all have the responsibility to think about those long-term effects, including the military. Mahalo for your time.
Thank you very much. Mahalo. Thank you for being here. Mahalo. Is there anybody here? Anyone else in the room? Thank you, Auntie Rob. Please come on. We'll take two of them. Well, come, Auntie Rob. Come. We'll take two of you.
Please sit over here too.
Yes, we'll take two. Share the desk. Auntie Rocky, I'll let you go first, please. Thank you.
I'm gonna go over my 5 minutes.
2 minutes, Auntie. 2 minutes. Oh, you know what? Better. Oh, can.
Oh, you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm gonna actually, I wear many hats in our community, but today I'm gonna represent the Ahamoku. Because of the fact that Ahamoku was actually put together by the Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs. Due to the fact that there's too many times our people's voices do not come forward. And our job as Ahamoku is just to bring the voices forward. We don't speak for the people, we bring the people forward. And the people have been missed, the lineal descendants from each of the Aina we're talking about. We're talking about all of these Ainas that are giving you community leaders that are not even living on the islands. That is representing, oh, the lineal descendants from 100 years ago, do they live there? Does it directly affect the people who are there? There's, we're talking about the Ka'apai ruling, but these are for the people who live on the Aina. So November 10th to the 17th, the Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs had a convention this year. And we had 68 resolutions that was adopted. It was sent, some of them were sent here to the Department of Land and Natural Resources. 10 of which was related to the military renewing their leases. Okay, and we were equipped, we had to be equipped to give the desire of our members so that we can engage. Okay, some of the recommendations was do not renew the leases. Some are urging for fair compensation. Some are urging of the military, if not going to leave, then they need to provide more reasonable cultural access to their practices. I've had the opportunity to visit some of these places. I've been to Mokapu, I've been to Pualoa, and some of the description they're giving the Department of Land and Natural Resources is fabricated. Some of them are saying this is poisoning this and that's poisoning that. I read the Department of Health studies on these places. Some of them is not true. You know, when I recently went to Pualoa, I was in total shock when I first went there for my first time. I walked into the Department of Land and Natural Resources officers practicing and hoping that they don't lose their practice area. And our own police department over there practicing. Do we want that to leave? Do we need that? I went to Mokapu, and that's where they have all the heavy equipment. I live directly across the base from Mokapu. I'm looking at my house on the base and talking to them. Do we really? Okay, I'll stop. But anyway.
Thank you,
I'm talking
Auntie
to the
Rocky.
people. Mahalo.
Thank you so much.
Auntie Rocky, could you,
Oh,
sorry,
Auntie Rocky.
one question.
Sorry.
Could you just remind us how many people are represented by the Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs?
This year, the Association of Hawaiian Civic Club, we have this is on a national level. We have almost 60 some odd clubs. Drake Kalini has, I think, the exact amount. Each club, we had a club from every single island. And each of these islands represented their own area, their own moku. We had from Hawaii Island, Kauai Island, Oahu Island, and we were surprised and shocked that they came up with this many resolutions pertaining to the military leases. So the military, I know, you know, we have to engage, we have to work, but maybe they're hiring the wrong kind of people, I don't know. You know, your consultants, are they conferring with the people who's there? The people who don't even live there. Think about that.
Thank you so much.
Mahalo.
If you can introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Marisa Lemmer. I was a classmate and best friend of Honolulu class of 1967. And I feel she will be here today to tell you that the FEIS is a very bad thing. It's not good for the land, not good for the people. And I live close to Kahuku. I live in Sunset Beach. So toxic chemicals and pollution is something that we all have to worry about. Wherever the Army goes, wherever they do their training, they leave it all behind. And I know the Big Island has plutonium, which is horribly toxic and impossible for the Army to clean up. So this is what I'm worried about. This is why I drove all the way from Sunset Beach, very far, to be here today. So I speak for myself, and I feel like I speak for my friend, Haunani K. Trask.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Is there anybody else here in Kona?
Sorry. Shane's outside. Outside the Shane. Look for
Senator?
I was quite cool, but I think to speak before you go. Thank you, Chair Chang. I am in strong opposition to this EIS. I support the BLNR staff and the findings that they have brought before this board and to the community, including Puakaloa. Army have a history of environmental and cultural harm. Military has resulted in the dangerous and environmental restrictions and cultural access to our health concerns. Ongoing and continuing endangering and approaching and violating our public trust and believing in what they say over the years for our communities to believe in all the things that they were saying that has not happened over the decades. So the EIS is lacking failing fully to impact on the water resources, endangered species, traditional and cultural practices, community access, lack of community input and transparency. The voices of the community need to be heard. The local families and Native Hawaiian organizations and opposition to the military's retention of these leases. These lands must be restored and returned to the public to cultural use, not to be contaminated by militarization.
reject this final EIS. And I just want to share with you guys, if you guys don't remember, when I got to this square building a long time ago, 8 years now, on 8 years. Anyway, you guys ever heard of the devil weed? Anybody here? Look it up. That's what the military brought, Army brought to Kahuku. Highly flammable, highly endangering our community and our families in that area. Because why? It blows in the wind and is on the ridges and stuff like that they cannot go and remove it. It's stronger than any kind of lamp oil that you can think of. When this thing catches fire, it's hard to stop. So just remember that. They brought that invasive species and a lot more. So again, please reject the final EIS for Oahu and for neighbor islands. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. With that being said, I'm now going to go to our list.
Thank you, Senator.
So I will call 2 people at a time, and if both of you can come to the table, that will help to facilitate our public comments. So the first person I have on the list is James Mai'oho, and then after that I have Pastor, is it Amy? Pastor Amy. So James Mai'oho and Pastor Amy, if you could come forward, please. James, go ahead.
Good morning, Cha-Ching, board members, AG. For the record, I am James J. Kalanimoku, County Bird Mai'oho. I'm a lineal descendant of Honolulu, most specifically Kai, and carried his kuleana to our EV at Ho'okaina, Lahaina. My family crypt was in the below at White House Church, and of course, Manala. I read this document. It reads very much the same as what we read at Mākua. It has the same glaring lack of content for cultural surveying, for archaeological surveys, for what is unknown, as that document reads. And in my opinion, if the board is going to be consistent, it has to find the same as it did with Kahuku, because your own documents, your executive summary, reads the same. And if you'll indulge me, I'll read a paragraph from that into the record that shows this glaring lack of content. This is from page 6. Regarding historic and cultural resources, LD and HHPD staff continue to have concerns with the lack of surveyed areas. Specifically, SHPD states that SHPD continues to recommend adequate archaeological surveys of the ROI. The significance of unsurveyed acreage within KTA, MMA, and Poamoho may contain historical and cultural sites that remain unidentified. No consideration has been given to potential unidentified archaeological and cultural sites mentioned in Native Hawaiian traditions that could potentially be within these unsurveyed portions of the ROI. As you've heard previous testimony this morning of how important the EV are to us and the land. They are a part of the land, they are a part of us that must be protected. And to do that, we must identify them. And none of this should continue until those things are accomplished.
Thank you very much. Pastor Amy.
I'm Reverend Amy Chiekawake. I was born and raised here in Honolulu, graduate of high school, and I'm an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church. And here representing the Hawaii District Act of Repentance Task Force for the United Methodist Church, because we learned that our church and some of our members and early pastor was a part of the overthrow of the monarchy. And so last year, our global United Methodist Church, representing over 10 million people, agreed to the process of an apology and repentance for our wrongdoings to the Hawaiian people. And that is why I'm here, because it's not enough to say sorry, but it's important to be present at actions that are important to Hawaiians. I do want to say that earlier this month, at a regional gathering of United Methodists, we presented a resolution to the conference, which represented about 50,000 United Methodists in Southern California and the Pacific. And we voted against
renewal of military leases and urge the rejection of the final Army EIS. We do this for our brothers and sisters of Hawaii, but we also do this because God created this land and everything is sacred. It's not just about people, but it's about the sacredness of creation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. The next two I have is Tavita, and then Davy and Thomas. Thank you.
I begin by acknowledging Papa and Wakea and Tangata Iwhanua, the Kanaka Oiwi Hawaii. Aloha mai kako and maloi lele, Chair Chang and members of the board. My name is Tevita O'Kaili. I'm a professor of anthropology and cultural sustainability at BYU Hawaii and a resident of Kahuku. I'm Tongan. There's about 300, 400 Tongans in Kahuku, and also an indigenous person to Moana Nui Akea, direct descendants of Kanaloa, Maui, and Hina, common ancestors to Hawaiians and Tongans. I rise today to strongly urge you to reject the final environmental impact statement for the Army's proposed land retention Kahuku, Kawailoa-Poamoho, and Mākua. Hawaiian cosmogony or creation story tells us that these are sacred places. They contain mo'olelo, heiau, burial, caves, iwi, la'au, manu birds, and wai, all of which are fenced off, restricted, and degraded by the military activity. The Army's own cultural impact assessment admits that access is denied, and this is a cultural knowledge being lost. It represents a cultural crisis and erasure of culture, or what I refer to as ethnocide. But let me be clear about the local and the global stakes. I do not want Hawaiian Kingdom Crown lands used to train soldiers or fine-tuned weapons meant to kill people abroad, such as the ongoing genocide in Palestine by US and Israel, or the destruction of environment in Moana Nui Akea. I do not want the sacred Aina of Hawaii to be a staging ground for wars that destroys lives, lands, and waters in Hawaii and around the world. To approve this EIS is to side with militarism over Aloha Aina. It is to perpetuate imperialism and colonialism in Hawaii and to be complicit in violence. Reject the EIS, protect Hawaii, protect our culture, protect our humanity and spirituality. Mahalo nui for your time.
Aloha mai kako. Aloha mai kako. My name is Davian Momilani Sawaris Thomas. I am born and raised from Oahu. I am Hawaiian ancestry by both parents, by both tutu. I was also a 17-year Navy wife. Until today, I still live 20 years amongst our military community. I have learned to become a military advocate on my own, for Oahu, for Hawaii, but I have learned to take lead for volunteering for our military community as well within 20 years to present. I am here today to tell you to reject because I live both sides of this, all right? I started learning about Mākua Valley while I was still a strong patriotic American growing up on this island, all for the military and their training. Schofield soldiers I met as a young adult, 1990s, was telling me something I never understood, how they were treating Mākua Valley, stepping on snails that were endangered. They would side, many of them, these are like hundreds, would side with the Hawaiian people, something that I wasn't raised on this island to understand, their knowledge, their cries. 2003, we start learning about the global war of terrorism, okay? 99% of my customers on Waikiki were Schofield soldiers. They went to that. They were excited when Saddam Hussein got taken down, thinking they're not going to war. 2005, when I became a Navy wife 20 years ago, they came back with PTSD, silent mental stressors, attempted suicide. I started to understand this slowly, but as a Navy wife, when my mister had to go, was now retired, 2009 to Iraq to fight that on ground. That crap scared me. Their training, all their training for all the military branches, when they had to prepare for that, for Middle East. And when they are there, when they come back, we have to understand their silent mental stressors. Many of us come down with such a thing. This is something my home, Hawaii, has to understand and respect. I understand it, I see it, I lived it.
Thank you very much, Davian.
You're welcome.
So
Let's take this.
no, you can't take that one. So the next I have is Alessandra, and then, is it Shaughnessy?
Chauncey.
Chauncey, okay. Alessandra?
Aloha Chair,
Good
members of the
morning.
board. Aloha mai kako.
Aloha.
My name is Alessandra Rusev, and I work for the Commission on Water Resource Management as a hydrologist, Native Hawaiian water rights and watershed planner. However, I'm testifying in my own personal capacity today, and I'm taking the time off to do so. I'm here today as a veteran and as a former surface warfare officer who was stationed on Oahu. I witnessed firsthand the destructive training practices the military conducts on both the land and the ocean. These exercises involve everything from small arms to machine guns, missiles, as well as the handling of hazardous materials, including but not excluding aqueous film-forming foam and halon, both of which are dangerous fire retardants. This all releases toxic pollutants, heavy metals, and PFAS into Hawaii's lands and ocean. In my written testimony, I outlined 10 major deficiencies in the Army's EIS, including major gaps in required information. So with the sake of time today, I won't go over them. I'm sure many people have covered them and will continue to cover them, and it's also in my written testimony. On another note, in an era of increasing wildfire risk, the use of live fire and flammable materials, especially in sensitive areas like Mākua, and Kahuku, poses a serious threat to public safety and the environment. Even if such exercises aren't happening today, the military retains the right to resume them, which is deeply concerning considering the political climate we're in today. The military's track record, Red Hill being only one example, shows a systemic disregard for both the environment and Native Hawaiian rights. The BLNR, however, is in a unique position to be able to stop these detrimental practices due to its public trust responsibility to protect all natural resources for the benefit of all, as well as to ensure the social, economic, physical, and mental well-being of current and future generations in accordance with Chapter 226 of Hawaii State Plan. Lastly, I'd like to note that the military returning contaminated land to the state is not an acceptable legacy. The military must be held accountable, including funding and conducting a full cleanup of these lands. I urge you to reject the Army's EIS and ensure any transfer of land is done with true restoration and respect for Hawaii's people and environment for current and future generations. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Chauncey, and after Chauncey, I have Bailey. Rayleigh, I'm so sorry. Oh no, Kalanimoku for mispronouncing people's names. Please come back. And then after that, I have Paige and Ron. Okay. Please go ahead.
Aloha board members, aloha kako. Please reject the final EISs of Kawailoa-Poamoho and the Moku training areas. The U.S. military is an institution of environmental degradation incapable of accounting for all that they destroy. But we know. Kapoe Hawaii knows. The military ledger drips with our blood and future. Turn them away. They are an institution insufficient to meet the present, let alone repair what they have destroyed. Their standard deviation is death. Retention, mitigation, no action alternatives are words and diversions from life. Our life. Our water, our Mākua, our people, our keiki, do not abide these diversions any longer. I said it before, but trade their practiced death for the people's hands. It is reasonable and possible to reject these EISs. We are here on our kuaina, full of bounty. I am here on my beloved land, full of bounty, to reiterate to you the heart in your throat and the hum in your bones right now is the strength to deny them.
I'll say again, because I respect this board, we have found our answers, right? It is with head, heart, and hand, with soil, seed, and stone that life is coming. No other. Long live Hawaii, long live the Pacific, and long live Gaza. Thank you for your time. Aloha mai kako. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this time. My name is Braylee Isono Hirose Hobart. I am from Ewa Beach, and I would today like to bring the waters of Keoneula, the stream of Honolulu, and the loch of Kaihuapala'i today, as we talk about what it means to talk about significance, right? This is wrapped in a language of significance. And I would like to assert full-throatedly a rejection, to call for rejection of this EIS. That the statement regarding these lands is insufficient. The statement of impact is insufficient. The accounting of harm is insufficient. And it is, you know, and life loves life, right? And that's what we are here to talk about. And that's what when my sister speaks about it, the institution that I am here to testify against has an orientation to life-taking, that at its bare bones. And so it is through from their memorials to these training grounds, this institution is comfortable with leaving beings under the rubble. We are not. We are not. In February, I lost my job. I cut mangrove on Kaihuapala'i. I was granted access to stand in that water, Navy water. And it is that disrespect and disregard for the things that are left that I believe deserves this rejection. Please reject it, this statement, on a lack of impact, a lack of content of impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next I have Paige, Iune, and Ronnie Inagaki.
Here.
My name is Paige, and I was born and raised in Kahuku, and I'm a current resident at I'm submitting testimony today in strong opposition and criticism of the U.S. Army's final environmental impact statement for the retention of state-owned lands in Kahuku, Kawailoa-Poamoho, and Mākua. I urge the board to reject this statement in the EIS statement in consideration of the protection of culture, the environment, and public health. From Pu'uloa to Koho'olawe to Kapukaki, the U.S. settler military state has a long and violent legacy of desecration of Kanaka Iwi lands and water via a repertoire of strategies including diversion, dredging, bombing, and contamination. As identified by other testimonies, the final EIS statement is just another pattern of this dark legacy, demonstrating its blatant disregard for sacred ancestral sites, inadequate consultation on the preservation of cultural spaces, and the utilization of exceedingly outdated land surveys. I turn to Professor Environmental Researcher Dr. Max Luba-Aron and their scholarship Pollution is Colonialism, in which they contend that the settler states' environmental regulation and protections are based on what they categorize as threshold theory of pollution, meaning bodies, whether they be human, animal, land, or water, can handle a certain level of contaminant before scientific detectable harm has occurred. Thus, we wait till there is quantifiable, identifiable, and abnormal level of pollution before the state intervenes, an intervention that occurs much too late. But by rejecting this EIS statement and repatriating Kanaka lands and waterways, we can intervene before further quantifiable harm occurs, before harm is irreversible. I again urge the board to reject the EIS statement in consideration of the people of Hawaii and their future generations. Mahalo for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. I have Ronnie Inagaki and Kalanimoku Thank you.
Aloha Kumeana, Chair Chang, and members of the board. O Rani Ko'oinoa, He Kanaka Hawaii au no Waima Nalo o Ahu. My name is Rani Nagakian. I am a Kanaka Maoli of Nalo o Ahu. I offer this oral testimony in addition to my written testimony in strong opposition to Agenda Item D1 and the Army's FEIS for the retention of state lands of Kahuku, Kawailoa-Poamoho, and Mākua. I speak as a Kanaka Maoli, whose ancestors have stewarded these lands for generations. These areas are not just training grounds. They are wahipana, containing endangered species, ancestral burials, and living cultural traditions. The Army's EIS fails to truthfully disclose the cumulative impacts on our environment and our culture, and does not provide enforceable protections for sacred sites or vital water sources. From a Hawaiian perspective, the land is ohana, when the relationship between people and aina is broken, as it has been for decades of military occupation. It is as if a family has been separated from its kupuna. Healing can only begin when the relationship is restored, when the land is returned to the care of those who honor and understand its mana. The practice of ho'oponopono teaches us that the true healing and reconciliation require acknowledgement of harm, a sincere apology, and the restoration of balance and pono. The EIS, as highlighted in public comments, fails to adequately recognize or assess the deep and ongoing trauma caused by military occupation of these lands. It does not meaningfully address the significant harm to the health and well-being of Kanaka Maoli and local communities, especially our youth, resulting from the continued denial of self-determination over these aina. Keiki already faced some of the highest rates of anxiety, depression, harm. I leave with one question and one mana'o. What is your ea? What is your life force? This is my ea. He's my life force and the generations to come. Mahalo for your time.
Would you like to say something? Only if you're comfortable. If you're comfortable.
Aloha o Jace. Aloha ma'amana. As a Kanaka Oiwi, I strongly oppose this bill. As for a fact, when we revisit our practices, our people's heartbeats lies within tradition and culture. And these lands hold that tradition and the potential to further our culture and expand the horizons of it. As of now, we've been quite limited to how much we could have expanded by now, but we are restoring it at a really great rate. But with these lands, we could utilize the area for our practices and better usage, as currently the military is rooted in destruction, as Kaho'olawe and Red Hill, which are big crimes. As of now, if we can prevent this by leasing these bills back to the lands of the natives. As our people, we are rooted in a reciprocal relationship with our environmental awareness. By being aware of our environment and our people, we can continue to sustain these lands for future generations. Mahalo.
Very well spoken.
You, I think
Well, good thing you did. Good thing you did. Thank you very much. Well, could you just introduce yourself, please? What was your first name? Jace. Thanks. Thank you very much. You did excellent. Thank you. Okay. So now Kalan.
Aloha, my name is Kalanimoku. I'm submitting this testimony on behalf of Kalahui, Hawaii. We urge the board to reject the U.S. Army Final Environmental Impact Statement for the proposed long-term retention of 6,322 acres of land at Kahuku, Kawailoa, and Mākua. These lands, referred to as state-owned, are in fact Hawaiian Kingdom Crown and government lands. The U.S. military invaded in 1893 in the illegal overthrow of the Hawaiian, resulting in the illegal overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy and an ongoing 132-year military occupation of Hawaii. nearly 2 million acres of Hawaiian national lands were taken without the consent of the Kanaka Maoli people. The long-term military retention of these lands, absent of free, prior, and informed consent, raises serious legal, cultural, and human rights concerns. We mahalo the Land Division staff for the comprehensive review of the final EIS and for their clear and principled recommendation that the board not accept it. The final EIS, as submitted by the U.S. Army, fails to meet the informational and procedural requirements of the Hawaii Administrative Rules 11-200. Without adequate data and analysis, the board cannot make an informed or responsible decision regarding the future of these lands. And no amount of pages, no matter how many thousands of pages, can tell the story of this land. This land is us, the Kanaka Maoli people, and we speak for the land. Kalahui Hawaii reiterates the U.S. Army's continued use of these lands violates numerous international legal instruments. These include the United Nations declarations on the rights of indigenous peoples, the UNDRIP, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the Charter of the United Nations. Under these frameworks, Kanaka Maoli have the right to self-determination, the right to practice and revitalize our cultural and spiritual traditions, the right to clean and healthy environment, and the right to free, prior, and informed consent. The final EIS not only fails to acknowledge these rights, but it lacks the technical data and cultural context necessary to properly evaluate the Army's proposed actions. The SHPE found that the EIS submitted significant Hawaiian cultural narratives, such as the legends of Kelea and La'i Kanaka, and failed to conduct archaeological surveys over substantial portions of the training area.
Yeah, Nani, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay, and then just one last sentence. We submitted a petition as part of our testimony. It has almost 5,000 signatures on there calling for the rejection of the military leases. Well, mahalo for your time.
Thank you very much. Melba and William?
Chair, yes. Can I ask her where the signatures came from? Do you mind?
Most of the signatures are from Hawaii.
Oh, they're
Yeah, we did submit it as part of our written testimony, so it's attached to our paper testimony. I didn't want to put the any personal identifiable information on there because it is going to be a public record.
No worries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then,
Aloha, Chair and members. My name is Melva Aina, and I'm with Huimolama o Mākua. And I was going to yield my 2 minutes to William Aina, but instead, I'm just going to strongly agree with what this testimony is about. Mahalo for your time.
Thank you so much.
Because we discussed it. Hello, my kako. My name is William Aina Jr. I represent Huimolama o Mākua, about 100 members and growing. My testimony, or the testimony of Huimolama, is only on the Mākua portion of the EIS. I understand that the Army is proposing its preferred alternative of no retention of state lands in Mākua. I support that. It's a good start. However, we feel that alternative 9 is much better. Alternative 9 is the no retention of state lands and to move all training on government-controlled lands to Schofield. The training that goes on in those lands right now is a want and not a need. I'll repeat that. It's a want and not a need. They can fly helicopters, they can fly UAVs in Schofield or any other place that they have government-controlled lands. I agree with comments from the Land Division that the EIS does not fully correlate with the environmental impacts to the proposed actions, and that the EIS does not fully consider all foreseeable consequences, and that in the EIS, the data and analysis is not commensurate with the importance of the impacts. DOH, I agree with them that maneuver and impact areas on state lease lands should be investigated for munition use and munitions constituents prior, I'm going to repeat this, prior to the expiration of the lease in 2029. That should be done prior to the expiration of the lease in 2029. the EPA's comment that there are ample unexploded ordnance and contamination in the soil likely to move along existing pathways into subsistence food supplies. It already is moving off the bait. This magical fence that, borders the MMR is not stopping that stuff from coming out. And then, real quickly, I look for a reference to the bomb crater dump in the UH study in this 2,000 page or so many page EIS. There was no reference to that. And what's amazing is, and I'll tell you why. It's because in 1999, when we found out about it and asked to see it, it was made to disappear. It was made to disappear. There's no record of any contents, constituents, and that parcel is on state leased lands. Okay? The reason that I bring this up is my final statement is it helps to have institutional memory, which is why we are asking the landlord to require community participation in future negotiations with the Army after the ROD is determined. Okay? It's important to have the institutional memory of the things in Mākua and where things are in Mākua and the history of Mākua in order to have good, full community participation and a good outcome for the future of the state portion of Mākua land. So thank you very much.
You have to use your wife's time.
I think, sorry.
I don't. But thank you very much.
At least you didn't have to tell her your time is up.
That would have been, thank you very much, brother. I'm going to take two more and then we're going to take a break. I'm going to take Brandon and then Jason. Please come on.
Good morning. My name is Brandon Mākua. I'm the Vice President of the Nation of Hawaii. I hail from Waimanalo. I'm speaking here to make sure that we leave our kiki a foundation and not a fight. These issues that we've been dealing with the military have been going on for years. Our land is suffering. I ask that we reject the FEIS because the military has not done a good job of stewarding our lands. There's so much to go over, but is this a legacy that we want to leave our children? Is this what they deserve, our scraps? And I think we are setting a bad example if we allow the military to just skip out on their duties and obligations. Because we as Kanaka, stewardship is not just a word you put in front of your name tag. Stewardship is a lifestyle. We exist in an Ahupua, and in the Ahupua, we understand that what I do affects my neighbors downstream in either a positive or a negative way. And if you are going to exist in Hawaii, you need to be practicing that mindset of Ahupua. We do monthly cleanup days in Waimanalo where we're restoring ancient Kalo terraces, and about 80% of our people that come there are non-Hawaiian. And what I tell them is, I give them the history, but then I tell them too is, you have finally found the real Hawaii, because now you've taken on kuleana. If you're gonna be in Hawaii, and you're gonna live here, you have to have kuleana. If you don't have kuleana to Hawaii, then why are you here? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason?
Thank you. My name is Jason Mazula. I am a member of here as a member of Veterans for Peace Hawaii, which is, as of last year, an international chapter along with Okinawa and Ireland and Vietnam and a handful of other chapters. As a longtime Hawaii resident and a combat veteran who I urge you to do the right thing and reject the Army's EIS. Please put the environment and the people first. It does not take an expert to see that the US and its military have never anticipated the true environmental and especially the human impact of their actions. From the devastation of Kaho'olawe and the UXO unexploded ordnance left behind on every island, including Makanalua bombing range on Molokai Kalapapa Peninsula, to the contamination of Oahu's aquifer, Navy raw sewage dumped into Pearl Harbor, and Space Force fuel leaking atop Haleakala, to the remnants of Agent Orange, white phosphorus, and depleted uranium leaching into the earth, to the wildfires started by bombing dry invasive grasses, to invasive species like coconut rhinoceros beetle arriving on unchecked military aircraft, to the violent crimes committed by military members against local women and children, to the military's generous housing allowance worsening an already bad housing crisis. The impact and especially the consequences of the military's presence have been severe for Hawaii and its people. The renewal of military's leases, the continued militarization of Hawaii and the Pacific, in general, would be making the people of Hawaii, the United States, and the world less safe, not more. I also, my wife and her family came to Hawaii, and her mother, from Iran in the 1980s. They fled. Her father was a political prisoner. The reason he was is because the United States and the British overthrew a democracy in Iran in 1953. And I just want to apologize. My heart is forever broken for what I've done in the United States military and for what's happened to the people of Hawaii. I would not be alive today had it not been for a Kanaka Maoli Vietnam veteran on Molokai who taught me to grow kalo and taught me the relationship with the earth and with the Aina that as a Westerner I was completely devoid of. You don't learn that in American schools. You don't learn, so my heart goes out to all of you. Please do the right thing, because yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to list the names who I'm going to call. Lena Ala, Kawila, Noelani, Kaipo, Makanoi, Ellen, Ka'anolani, Kua'aina, Kua'ana, Liko, and Kamuela. So we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to take those names, and then we're going to call you out.
Yes. How many people are in your organization?
I don't know. Not nearly enough.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I never get switched fast enough.
On my watch.
Did they sign up?
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, I don't. He's not signed
I just
up.
wanted to make sure my name was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Bathroom break
Yeah, I
time.
Thank you very
You heard her.